wonder murmur where whispers weave the heart.
Hello, little hearts. A new whisper begins. In a town nestled in the heart of Germany, where the houses had gabled roofs and the streets were paved with cobblestone, there lived a people who were in a state of quiet despair. The town, named Hamelin, was suffering from a plague of rats. The rats were everywhere. In the houses, in the shops, in the schoolyards. They were a menacing tide of squeaks and scurries, a living nightmare that seemed to have no end. The mayor of Hamelin, a man whose face was always red with worry, held meeting after meeting. He and the townspeople tried everything. They brought in cats, but the rats were so many that the cats were overwhelmed. The town was helpless, and the people's hope was a fragile thing, shrinking with each passing day. One sunny morning, a strange man appeared in the town square. He was tall and thin, with a long, stern face and a colorful, patched cloak. From his belt hung a simple flute. He walked with a quiet confidence that seemed to part the sea of rats as he made his way to the mayor's office. He stood before the mayor, his eyes calm and steady. "I've heard of your problem," he said, his voice as clear as a bell. "I am a piper, and I can get rid of all the rats in your town. What would my reward be?" The mayor stared at the man, a wave of disbelief washing over him. A stranger with a flute. Could he really solve a problem that 100 cats and a dozen plans couldn't? Still, he had nothing to lose. "If you can do as you promise," the mayor declared, his voice filled with a desperate hope, "I will give you 10,000 gold coins from our treasury." The piper gave a single, firm nod. "In a day's time," he said, "Hamelin will have no rats." He walked out of the office and into the bustling streets, where the rats ran wild. He lifted his simple flute to his lips and began to play. An eerie, enchanting tune. A melody that no one had ever heard before, floated through the air. The people of Hamelin in their homes and shops stopped what they were doing, paralyzed by the beauty of the sound. Then, a strange thing began to happen. A single rat, then two, then hundreds, came out of their hiding places. They streamed from every crack in the walls, every corner of the street. They were mesmerized by the beautiful sound of the flute. The piper began to walk, and the river of rats, a sea of chittering bodies, followed him. The townspeople watched from their windows, their faces filled with a mixture of fear and awe. The piper walked toward the sea, the music never stopping, the rats following his every step. He walked right into the water, the waves lapping at his knees. The rats, utterly enchanted, followed him, and the sea, with a great final roar, swept them away. The rats of Hamelin, thousands and thousands of them, all drowned. The piper, his cloak wet, but his face serene, returned to Hamelin. The townspeople cheered, and the mayor, his face now red with joy, rushed to greet him. The piper had kept his promise. "I have come for my reward," the piper said, his voice a quiet reminder. But the mayor, seeing the town clean and the rats gone, had changed his mind. 10,000 gold coins seemed like too much to pay for a day's work. His greed, a dark, insidious thing, had taken hold of his heart. "You have done a wonderful thing," the mayor said, his voice now a little too smooth. "But 10,000 gold coins is a hefty sum. I will pay you 500 gold coins and not a penny more." The piper looked at the mayor, and a terrible, cold fire seemed to flicker in his eyes. He said nothing. He simply turned, walked to the center of the town, and lifted his flute to his lips once more. This time, the sound that came from the flute was different. It was still enchanting, but it was also filled with a deep, sorrowful ache. The townspeople heard it, and they were once again paralyzed. But this time, it was not the rats who came running. It was the children, the little boys and girls of Hamelin, their eyes wide and their feet light, began to follow the piper. They followed him out of the town and toward the great green mountains. The parents of the children, terrified, watched from their doors, their hands held over their mouths in shock. "Stop!" they cried. "Stop! Don't follow him!" But the children, with a light in their eyes that was as ancient as the music, could not stop. They followed the piper into a great cave in the mountains, and with a single mournful note, the piper and all the children of Hamelin disappeared. The cave sealed itself, leaving nothing but silence. The town, which had been so full of joy, was now a place of terrible sorrow. The streets were clean, but they were silent. The parents wept, their voices a mournful chorus. They ran to the mayor, their faces filled with fury. "Where are our children?" they cried. "Where has he taken them? This is all your fault." The mayor, now filled with a guilt more terrible than any plague, was helpless. He ran to the mountains, but there was nothing there. He knew he had been dishonest. He had let his greed destroy his town's most precious treasure. Days turned into weeks. The town, a place of ghosts and shadows, was consumed by a silence that was more terrifying than 1,000,000 rats. The mayor, broken by his mistake, could not sleep. He finally went to the mountains, falling to his knees and weeping. "I'm sorry," he cried. "I was wrong. Please, bring them back." And then, one morning, a faint, sweet melody, so gentle it could have been a bird's song, floated down from the mountains. The townspeople, hearing it, ran to the town square. There was the piper, and behind him, a sea of laughing, running children. The mayor, his heart filled with a terrible, wonderful relief, ran to the piper. "Take the gold," he cried, holding out a pouch of 10,000 coins. "Take it, please forgive me." The piper, his face now calm and forgiving, accepted the money. He had taught a hard lesson, but a necessary one. And from that day on, Hamelin, though it had no rats, had a greater treasure, a promise kept. And the mayor, humbled and forever changed, learned that a man's word and a man's honor are worth more than all the gold in the world.
Wonder murmur, the story departs, yet the whisper imparts.